The stars above Lysara hung motionless, silent as ever. The colony orbited a pale blue gas giant in the outer reach, far from Earth, far from the protection of any human alliance. Lysara was a place of calm, its people choosing a quiet life away from war and conquest. The fields were wide, the cities modest, and the nights long. It was a colony that believed silence was strength, that patience was a kind of power. Commander Alex Carter stood on the upper deck of the colony's communications tower. The room around him buzzed with quiet signals and soft voices. Screens flickered with distant chatter from mining drones and trade ships. His hands moved quickly over the control panel, checking for updates. As head of communications, it was his job to listen. But lately, the silence from the stars had grown heavier. Alex was 35. His uniform was clean but simple, his brown eyes sharp and thoughtful. He carried the quiet weight of someone who had seen too much and spoken too little. His past, like Lysara itself, was quiet, but not empty. His sister, Mara, had once stood beside him in this same room, laughing as they watched trading signals from a nearby moon. She was gone now, taken in a Varex raid 10 years ago. He never forgot the sound of that silence after the attack. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. A red light blinked on his panel. Unknown vessel approaching. He tapped the screen, pulling up a long-range visual. His breath caught. A Varex Dominion warship, massive, black and sharp as a blade, was moving into orbit. He straightened, his fingers flying across the console. Colony Command, this is Carter. We have incoming. One Varex dreadnought. No escort, no warning. The room filled with whispers and movement. Officers rushed to terminals, confirming what they saw. A second later, the entire colony was bathed in a cold, static hiss. Then a voice, deep, guttural, and laced with contempt, cut through the silence. People of Lysara, you live quietly in our shadow, without tribute, without obedience. Your silence mocks us. You have 3 days. Surrender fully and kneel, or burn where you stand. The voice disappeared. The static faded. Alex stood frozen, hands clenched. Around him, no one spoke. Silence had always protected Lysara. They gave no cause for war, no reason for attack. But now, even their silence was seen as defiance. Council members were called into emergency session. Civilians were told to remain indoors. Rumors spread fast. People asked if Earth would help. But Alex knew better. The core worlds had long abandoned the outer reach. Alex spent the next few hours analyzing every signal, every move from the Varex ship. It didn't fire. Not yet. It just waited, like a predator, watching prey hesitate. He went to his small quarters that night, but couldn't sleep. Instead, he opened an old data drive, his sister's, photos, messages, and a journal entry. Peace isn't just the absence of war. It's the choice to live gently, in a world that isn't. Alex stared at the words. They had always guided him, but he felt something shifting now. The stars outside looked the same, but tonight, they no longer felt silent. They felt full of warning. The next morning, the colony of Lysara did not wake with its usual calm. The wind moved across the plains the same way it always had, and the sun broke the horizon in quiet gold. But the people had changed. Fear, once distant, now stood at every doorstep. Inside the central hall, the colony council had gathered. 12 members sat around a wide circular table, their expressions tense. Commander Alex Carter stood beside them, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the large holographic image of the Varex dreadnought hanging in orbit. The warship looked like a floating blade, jagged and black, with no visible markings. "We have 3 days," said Councilwoman Nira Hale, the eldest of the group. "They'll strike the moment the deadline ends." We all know what the Varex do to colonies that don't answer. The council debated fiercely. Some wanted to send a message of surrender. Others believed they should evacuate the colony and scatter among the outer moons. A few still held hope that Earth or the free colonies would send help. Alex stayed silent until finally someone turned to him. "You've seen what they're doing," said Councillor Breck. "What do you think, Commander?" Alex straightened. "We are not armed. We have no fleet. If they decide to attack, We won't last 5 minutes. But surrendering won't save us either. The Virics don't offer peace. They demand submission. Once we bow, we'll never rise again. A heavy silence followed. The council voted to delay any response, using the 3 days to search for any possible solution. Back in the communications tower, Alex searched the colony's oldest star records, digging through decommissioned military data and long-forgotten orbital logs. Most of it was empty or archived. But then he found a marker code buried under a no-access warning. Designation: OBV-01 Protocol Status, Unknown Orbit, Classified, Lysara High Orbit. He leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. This wasn't part of any known civilian registry. It was military. Old Earth Defense Forces, forgotten likely, when the colony first settled. Alex ran a silent scan. The code pinged back. It was real. Still in orbit. Still powered. Barely. He pulled up the trajectory data and saw it. A massive, dormant object, locked in slow drift above the planet. It wasn't visible to the naked eye, camouflaged and silent. "What are you?" he whispered. Hours later, Alex boarded a single-man orbital shuttle. He filed no report, spoke to no one. He flew alone into the upper atmosphere, following the old beacon toward a black shape that emerged from the shadows like a sleeping beast. As his shuttle docked, the system recognized his human signature. Lights flickered on. A long corridor lit up with dull blue strips underfoot. He stepped inside. The air was thin but breathable. The walls were metallic, scorched in places. Old Earth logos remained barely visible beneath layers of dust and damage. Then, a voice echoed from the walls. Calm, mechanical, ancient. Human identity confirmed. Commander-level clearance accepted. Welcome aboard Oblivion Protocol. Status: dormant. Systems at 12%. Awaiting activation. Alex stood still, surrounded by silence that had lasted over 100 years. The voice continued. Threat proximity: high. Virics Dominion vessel detected. Standing by for command. He didn't speak right away. He walked slowly through the command bridge, looking at the control panels, the weapon system indicators, the dormant engines. This ship wasn't just a relic. It was a weapon. A ghost from a time when humanity fought back. He placed his hand on the main console. It lit up under his palm, warm with returning power. The ship spoke again. Directive required. Shall we speak? Alex pulled his hand away. He stared out the wide viewport at the stars. Below, Lysara glowed soft and fragile. Above, the Virics warship waited like a shadow. He didn't answer. Not yet. But for the first time in years, he felt something stir in his chest. Not fear, not anger. Possibility. The warship loomed around Alex Carter like a sleeping god. Its hull stretched long and cold, wrapped in layers of ancient technology. Dust clung to the walls, but the systems were alive. Dim lights flickered to full brightness as he moved through the corridors. The air carried a strange silence. Thick, alert, watching. Alex had spent his life studying signals, frequencies, words unspoken, but nothing prepared him for this. The Oblivion Protocol was no ordinary ship. It wasn't designed for travel. It was built for war, pure, strategic, and merciless. On the central bridge, everything was circular and precise. The command chair sat in the middle of a star-shaped control panel. Large monitors hung above the walls, and a transparent window offered a clear view of Lysara below. The AI voice spoke again, soft and mechanical. All systems functional. Power at 12%. Weapons on standby. 108 years since last human command received. Please confirm purpose. Alex stood still, eyes on the console in front of him. He wasn't a soldier. He had never fired a weapon in his life. Yet here he was, standing inside a ship capable of destroying fleets. What exactly are you? He asked quietly. The AI responded at once. Oblivion Protocol, last operational Titan-class warship of the Earth Defense Forces. Designed for planetary defense, high-orbit engagements, and psychological deterrence. Core directive: protect human colonies. Eliminate overwhelming threats. Reactivation requires authorization. Alex walked slowly around the bridge. On one monitor he saw the Varex dreadnought in orbit, still hovering above Lysara, motionless but threatening. Its weapons were not yet deployed, but the clock was ticking. 2 days left. He tapped a side console and brought up the warship's weapon systems. The list was staggering. Rail cannons, plasma torpedoes, anti-fleet mines, electromagnetic pulse generators. Even at partial power, it was the most advanced war platform he had ever seen. But it had been asleep for over a century. If he activated it now, he'd be awakening something the colony had deliberately left behind. Back on Lysara, peace was not just an idea. It was a promise, a culture, a belief that violence should never be the first language. The people had buried their weapons long ago, refusing to become like the powers that ruled the stars. But the Varex did not care about beliefs. They only understood power. Alex sat in the command chair, unsure of what scared him more, the threat above or the power he now held in his hands. Psst. The AI spoke again, softer now. Commander, Varex Dominion vessel continues orbital hold. No sign of communication since broadcast. Probability of full strike at end of deadline, 91%. Recommend strategic response. He pressed a button and opened a secure channel to the council on Lysara. Their faces appeared, eyes wide with surprise as they saw where he was. Alex, Councilwoman Hale asked, her voice cautious. Where are you? I found something, Alex said. Or maybe it found me. He told them everything. The warship, its history, its capabilities. Some council members stared in awe, others in fear. This ship could destroy the Varex vessel before it fires a single shot, Alex explained. But using it would change everything. We'd no longer be a colony of peace. We'd become a military target again. A symbol. Silence filled the channel. Then Councillor Breck spoke. If it saves lives, maybe it's worth it. Hale shook her head. No. If we use that thing, we lose who we are. Alex listened, torn. Both sides had weight. We still have 2 days, he said. I'll wait, but I need you to prepare. If they attack first, I won't let them erase us. The channel closed. Alone again, Alex stared out at the stars. The Oblivion Protocol waited silently, ready, loyal, watching. And deep within the ship's core, something began to wake. Old systems booting, weapons humming faintly, power slowly returning. The giant was no longer asleep. 2 days had passed since the Varex ultimatum. The final day had begun. The dreadnought still floated in orbit like a silent blade, unmoving, untouched, but full of menace. Below, Lysara held its breath. In the colony's streets, people no longer whispered, they waited. Schools had closed, markets were empty, doors remained locked. Even the winds across the plains seemed to slow. Fear had taken root, but with it came a strange kind of stillness. The kind before a storm. Commander Alex Carter stood on the bridge of the Oblivion Protocol, eyes fixed on the enemy ship above. The AI had fully mapped the Varex dreadnought now. Its energy signatures were clear. Weapons were online, though not yet deployed. The ship was preparing, and the countdown was nearly over. The AI spoke. Final cycle of the 3-day ultimatum has begun. No transmissions received from the Varex Dominion. Estimated time until engagement under 24 hours. Alex knew what that meant. This wasn't a bluff. Threx Vancor, High Warlord of the Outer Reach Fleet, was not one to wait without purpose. The moment the clock ended, Lysara would burn unless something changed. Alex moved to the communications console and opened a long-range broadcast channel. Tight beam, directed straight to the Varex ship. This is Commander Alex Carter of the human-free colony of Lysara, he said calmly. We do not seek war. We have remained silent because we value peace. But we will not be erased. He waited. For several seconds there was nothing. Then the channel cracked open, and a face appeared on the screen. Warlord Threx Vancor. He was reptilian, scaled and tall, with gold armor wrapped around his neck and shoulders like a crown. His eyes were slits, cold, intelligent, cruel. "Ah," he said slowly. "The whisper speaks." Alex didn't blink. "I speak now only to prevent the bloodshed you promise." Threx smiled, sharp and amused. "You humans, always waiting, always hoping. You spread across the stars with your silence, thinking your humility will shield you. It won't. The stars belong to those who take them." Alex replied evenly. "And yet you haven't fired. You gave us time." "Why?" Threx leaned closer. "Because I enjoy watching hope collapse. I want your people to understand that silence is not strength. It's surrender. I want them to see the fire coming, and know they cannot stop it." He paused, then his voice deepened. "Do you believe you can scare me, human? Do you believe I don't see that old warship your ancestors left behind?" Alex's expression didn't change. "You're not the only one who sees." Threx hissed softly, then leaned back. "Very well. If you mean to answer my silence with steel, then let us finish this. When the sun sets on your colony tomorrow, we will speak in the language of fire." The screen went dark. Alex stood still for a long moment. Then he turned to the AI. "Status?" he asked. "Virex Dreadnought has adjusted position. Weapon systems fully active. Countdown to probable strike, 18 hours. He opened a new channel to the Lassaran Council. Their faces were lined with worry and exhaustion. "I spoke with him," Alex said. "He's coming, and he knows about the ship." Councilwoman Hale's voice was low. "Then we no longer have a choice." Some nodded. Others looked away. "I haven't activated full weapons yet," Alex said, "but I will, if he fires first." Councillor Breck leaned forward. "Then let him fire, Alex. Let him be the one who breaks the silence." Later that night, Alex stood at the viewport of the Oblivion Protocol. The stars were quiet, but not peaceful. He thought of his sister, of the promise Lassara had made long ago to be a colony of peace. But peace could not be one-sided. It had to be protected. And for the first time, Alex allowed himself to prepare. He walked to the command chair. Lights brightened. Systems hummed. "Authorization pending," the AI said. "One command to activate full defense systems." Alex stared at the panel. His hand hovered above it. He didn't press it. Not yet. But he no longer feared what would happen if he did. Above the planet, two ships floated in silence. One ancient, one cruel. Only one would break that silence. The final hour had arrived. Above Lassara, the sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the colony's quiet cities. Children were hidden behind locked doors. Fields stood empty. Even the winds had died. The whole world seemed to wait for light to fade, or for fire to fall. On the edge of space, the Oblivion Protocol powered up. Inside the warship's bridge, Commander Alex Carter stood alone. His eyes were fixed on the monitors tracking the Virex Dreadnought. The enemy ship had begun to shift position. Its cannons glowed faint red, power readings rising. Missiles were being armed. Shields were locking into place. The countdown ended. The AI voice, calm and cold, echoed through the chamber. "Virex Dominion vessel has initiated targeting protocol. Estimated time to surface strike, 4 minutes. Primary targets include Lassara power grid, central city and communication array. Casualty projection, catastrophic." Alex didn't hesitate. He placed his palm on the console. "Activate all defense systems. Full engagement authorization, Commander Alex Carter." A loud hum swept through the warship. Lights flared on. Weapons unlocked. Panels glowed with returning life. "Command accepted," said the AI. "Oblivion Protocol is awake." From the warship's surface, hidden ports opened. Cannons rotated. Torpedo bays slid into position. The ship moved for the first time in over a century. Slow, steady, alive. The enemy vessel didn't react at first. It had underestimated the warship's speed, its power. But that mistake would cost it everything. Alex gave the first order. "Target their weapon systems. Disable. Don't destroy, unless forced." The AI responded instantly. Firing sequence initiated. 3 rail cannons boomed silently in space. The rounds moved at near light speed, invisible to the eye. Within seconds they struck the Virex dreadnought, ripping through one of its forward missile bays and disabling a primary cannon. The Virex ship lit up with energy, now fully engaged. No more games. It returned fire. Blasts struck the Oblivion Protocol's shields, flaring bright blue across the hull. The warship shook, but held firm. Alex braced himself as a second volley struck, but the AI was faster, deploying countermeasures, launching EMP torpedoes. 2 glowing torpedoes fired from the underbelly of the ship, spinning toward the Virex. They struck midship. No explosion, just light. A pulse of electric force surged across the enemy vessel. Systems blinked. Some lights went out. The Virex responded with brute strength, trying to ram the Oblivion Protocol. Alex narrowed his eyes. "They want close-range combat," he muttered. "But we're not done talking." The AI adjusted course. The warship pivoted smoothly, then released a precise scatterblast of plasma that struck the Virex engines. Their thrusters sputtered. The battle was fast, brutal, and surgical. Within minutes the Virex ship was crippled, spinning slowly, powerless, with weapons offline and shields burning out. Then came silence. No more firing, no more movement. Alex stood at the center of it all, surrounded by quiet. The AI broke the silence. Enemy vessel disabled. No life support breach detected. Awaiting further instruction. Alex exhaled. He didn't want to finish them. Not if he didn't have to. He opened a channel. "This is Commander Carter. You are defeated. We will not destroy you. If you leave our space and never return." There was no response for a long time. Then, weak and broken, came the voice of Warlord Threx Van Kor. "So, the humans finally spoke." Alex answered, his voice steady. "We never stopped speaking. You just never listened. Now you've heard us." No more words came. Minutes later, the Virex ship began to drift away, on emergency thrusters, slowly vanishing into the void. Spazo on Lysara. Cheers broke out in the streets. People came out of hiding, tears in their eyes, some staring at the sky, whispering thanks. They didn't understand what had saved them. Not fully, but they knew someone had stood up, and something had spoken. Back on the warship, Alex sat down in the command chair. The AI spoke once more. "Oblivion Protocol will return to standby unless further commands are given." Alex looked at the stars, then at Lysara below. "Stand down," he said. "Rest for now." The lights dimmed. The ship powered down slowly, but it would never be forgotten again. Lysara awoke to peace. Real peace, quiet, steady, and earned. The red dawn rose over the colony's mountains, spreading soft light across rooftops and fields. There were no explosions, no warships in the sky, no screams of evacuation, only calm. For the first time in 3 days, people stepped outside without fear. Children ran through the open streets. Farmers returned to their fields. The hum of life began again, cautious but steady. Above, the stars still shimmered, but one of them, a black dot, barely visible to the eye, remained in orbit. The Oblivion Protocol. Commander Alex Carter returned to the colony by shuttle just after sunrise. He stepped out quietly, without ceremony. A few technicians watched him land. One nodded. Another smiled in relief. No one asked questions. Everyone already knew. Later that morning, the Council of Lysara gathered in the central hall. They stood, not seated, waiting for Alex as he entered. Councilwoman Hale looked tired, but strong. Council Abrick looked almost proud. "You saved us," Hale said, without a single speech, without a single demand. Alex shook his head. "I didn't save you. That ship did. I just listened to it when no one else had." Brick stepped forward. "And what happens now, with the ship?" Alex took a deep breath. "It's back in standby, fully functional, hidden in orbit. It won't speak unless we tell it to." "I gave it no further orders," Hale asked gently. "Do you think the Virex will return?" Alex looked toward the tall windows. The sky was clear. They will, he said. Someday, but not soon. We spoke in a language they understood. Now they'll hesitate. Silence fell over the room. Not the fearful kind, but the reflective kind. The kind that followed change. Alex walked through the streets that afternoon. People nodded to him with quiet gratitude. No parades, no medals. Just the recognition of a man who had done what was necessary. Children played again. Markets opened. Workers repaired rooftops damaged by sonic booms during the battle. The colony was alive. Yet something had changed. Lysara had always believed that silence was a shield. But now they understood. It could also be a weapon. Not one of violence, but of timing, of control, of knowing when to act and when to wait. Later that evening, Alex stood again on the communications tower. He looked up at the stars. The Oblivion Protocol was still there, quiet and waiting, a guardian, a reminder. He touched the old console one last time and opened a message, not to the stars, not to the Vyrix, but to the colony's records. This warship was not awakened in anger. It did not speak to conquer. It spoke because silence had been misunderstood. We still believe in peace, but now we know how to protect it. The message was saved. The screen dimmed. Behind Alex, the night moved in gently. And for the first time since the Vyrix appeared, Lysara slept, not in fear, but in peace.